right, we have breaking news. New reporting from Washington Post columnist Josh Rogin out minutes ago on a stunning assessment from the CIA regarding Russian interference, really Russian attacks, on the 2020 presidential election. Let me read you the first line as reported by Rogin in the Post. We assess that President Vladimir Putin and the senior-most Russian officials are aware of and probably directing Russia's influence operations aimed at denigrating the former U.S. vice president, that would be Joe Biden, supporting the U.S. president, that would be Donald Trump, and fueling public discord ahead of the U.S. election in November. Joining me now is Washington Post columnist Josh Rogin, who just broke that story. He is a CNN political analyst. Josh, there's a lot going on here. I'd like to break it down in parts if we can. The first part is what I think is new to me and to the American people, the line Vladimir Putin probably directing these attacks on Joe Biden. What do we know?
Right. Thanks, John. I think what we've seen over the last month are different parts of the U.S. government acknowledging this sort of widespread influence campaign perpetrated by a Ukrainian lawmaker named Andrei Derkach, who happens to be pretty close friends with Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. And the Treasury Department and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence have said publicly that he is a Russian agent. What we didn't know before and what we now know is that the CIA, working with the NSA and the FBI, believe that that whole operation, the thing that the government and media have been talking about, is probably linked to Vladimir Putin directly and probably directed by Vladimir Putin and his top aides. According to the CIA's assessment, which was drawn from dozens of pieces of both unclassified and classified intelligence, working with the NSA and working with the FBI. In other words, all of the things you've seen about the press, in the press and from the government about this Russian influence campaign, working through this Ukrainian lawmaker, are probably directed and directly linked to Putin himself.
Putin is probably doing this, probably orchestrating or directing attacks on the 2020 U.S. election, specifically to denigrate Joe Biden and help Donald Trump. This is part of a CIA assessment that you write was published on August 31st, Josh. This seems to me to be the kind of thing the American people should know about. Why are we, now you're a terrific reporter, so I'm not questioning why you're breaking this, but why am I only learning about this from your reporting?
Right, I think that's the question that a lot of Democratic lawmakers have been asking for months. If you've tracked it, there's a bunch of bits of this that have come out. There have been, interviews with Giuliani. There've been Derkach has done YouTube videos, and Democratic leaders have been writing to FBI Director Chris Wray and asking him for classified briefings and asking the administration to release details of specific intelligence. This may be the specific intelligence they've been demanding, but the lawmakers weren't allowed to release it, and the government didn't want to release it. And I assure you that when I told the government that I was going to release it, they were not happy about it. Now, we can only speculate as to why that is, but it seems clear that this detail that the Russian president and his top aides may be personally directing this influence effort is explosive and could be damaging not only to U.S.-Russian relations, but also the president's relationship with Russia. And we can get into that if you want to. But the bottom line is that this assessment came out on August 31st. It was published on the highest level classification, top secret, on what's called the CIA Wire, the Worldwide Intelligence Review, and it was very, very closely held. And now it's out in the public, and now both the U.S. government and the Russian government will have to acknowledge it and talk about what it means.
To be clear, it's out in the public, though, only because of your reporting, not because the American people have been told about this intelligence assessment. So you said you got pushback from people as you were going to print with this. What evidence or what other evidence do you have, I guess, that the administration is trying to keep this information from going public?
Right. Well, the pushback came in two forms. One, this was the detail that this was probably directed by Vladimir Putin and his top aides was highly classified. I guess still is highly classified. And also the sources and methods, which I have kept out of this article at the request of these agencies, reveal just how much we really know about this influence operation. And it's a lot. There are dozens and dozens of pieces of intelligence that I won't go into right now that sort of map out what the government knows about this. Again, you could see a lot of it in the public space, and you can see bits of it coming from Congress and bits of it coming from different parts of the media, especially the pro-Trump media. And what the document basically says is that Derkach has used U.S. politicians, U.S. lawmakers, prominent figures close to the president. It doesn't name Giuliani, but it seems to be talking about Giuliani, and U.S. media organizations to disseminate and amplify his influence campaign. So what they're doing, what the Russians are doing, is they're using Americans to launder and to amplify this disinformation to denigrate Joe Biden. And, that's a very serious, shocking, maybe not surprising, but significant attack on our democracy, on our political system, and I think that's why it was so closely held at the top levels of government.
I got a couple more questions here, and I certainly hope we have the time. Andrei Derkach is a Ukrainian lawmaker who Rudy Giuliani proudly, openly has a relationship with. Giuliani, the president's lawyer, is meeting with someone that is deemed to be by U.S. intelligence a Russian agent, correct? What am I missing about why this isn't this as shocking as it sounds on its face?
Oh, it's completely shocking and kind of crazy when you think about it. This dates back to the impeachment last December, when Rudy Giuliani traveled to Kiev and met with a lot of Ukrainians, many associated with the pro-Russian party, in an effort to dig up dirt on Biden and to promote his allegations that that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election on behalf of the Democrats. And one of the Ukrainians he was working with was Derkach. And 2 weeks ago, when the Treasury Department named Derkach as a Russian foreign agent, Rudy Giuliani told the New York Times, he said, "Well, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a Russian agent." His quote was, "How the hell would I know?" Well, now we know that for sure. And it becomes harder and harder for people like Rudy Giuliani to deny, but it's in the public record. He's been working with this guy for about 10 months, very publicly. Now, the assessment itself doesn't say, this is important, the assessment itself doesn't say that Rudy Giuliani knew he was a Russian agent. It just says that that these Russian agents were working with Americans. In other words, Rudy Giuliani, according to the assessment, could have been a target of the influence campaign, not a direct conspirator. The assessment doesn't accuse him of that directly.
Look, the sentence that stands on its own, Rudy Giuliani working with a Russian agent, in and of itself should be of concern, I think, to people. Now, the big picture question, Josh, is what does Vladimir Putin want and what is he getting out of this? And let me give some context to this, because at the White House yesterday, and we have the sound of this, President Trump was asked to comment, which he never has, to comment on the poisoning of Russian opposition leader Navalny. Let's play that exchange if we have it.
Who do you think poisoned Alexei Navalny in Russia?
We'll talk about that at another time.
Wow. So begging off that when it is believed, again, by U.S. intelligence and European intelligence that it was the Russian government that poisoned the opposition leader. What is Vladimir Putin getting out of this? What does it say to you that, again, within the last 24 hours, the president there refusing to say something even moderately critical of Putin or Russia?
Right. It seems pretty clear and pretty obvious, and this is supported by the testimony of Chris Wray last week in the House, that President Vladimir Putin wants President Trump to get reelected because he thinks President Trump's policies are better for Russian interests than the alternative, Joe Biden. And, that's pretty much the same dynamic that played out in 2016. And, and when you see President Trump sort of backing off criticism of Russia, again, we can only speculate. Some people think the Russians have something on him. It could be just as simple as that he likes the support and, he doesn't want to bite the hand that's feeding him. And, in a way, it's a replay of 2016 where you have a foreign government supporting Trump against the Democrats, and the Trump campaign basically saying that they have nothing to do with it, but at the same time not doing everything they can to expose it, tell the American people about it, and put a stop to it.
Josh Rogin, the headline, an assessment from the CIA that Vladimir Putin is probably directing attacks meant to denigrate Vice President Joe Biden and help President Donald Trump. We only know about it because of your reporting. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, John.